To mark the 18th anniversary of September 11th, we are hearing from former high school students who sat in classrooms just 3 blocks away from the Twin Towers attack. A new HBO documentary that premieres tonight shares the stories of 8 alumni from a prestigious high school right here in New York City. The documentary is called In the Shadow of the Towers, Stuyvesant High on 9/11. Revisits the events of 9/11 through the perspective of teenagers who were nearby that day. Our Adriana Diaz was one of those students. Adriana, good morning. I heard that you were there yesterday. I can't imagine what that was like for you.
It's been a long time since I've been back at this school. I mean, we all remember where we were on 9/11, right? I was walking to school senior year, and as I was walking down the street, I saw an American Airlines plane cross the sky and the balls of fire coming out of the first tower. I didn't know what to do, so I went to school. I told my calculus teacher what happened, and she said, "We know, but we have a quiz to take." Whoa. I think she just wanted to maintain normalcy and calm.
And at that time, she probably thought it was just an accident.
Right, and the blinds were down, so we couldn't really see from the classroom. But my story is just one of millions from that day, and the images of that day are hard to watch. Can you guys believe it's been 18 years?
Unbelievable. When you come across another person who was there, that's when everything sort of floods back in.
We were all there, 3 blocks away from the Twin Towers on September 11th, 2001. Ju Sue was student body president. Lila Nordstrom became a health advocate for 9/11 survivors. And Liz O'Callahan and Muhammad Haq.
My dad, over the phone, said to me, please, please, just survive.
Are in a new HBO documentary about the teens who saw the towers and all normalcy collapse in front of them.
I was staring out at the window, and I literally saw a flash and the first explosion.
Do you guys remember the building shaking?
Oh, yeah. The lights flickered.
The lights flickered, yeah.
That's when we saw the dust cloud coming, and that was scary. That was scary.
Just kind of coming and enveloping. It felt like a scary movie almost.
At the time, it felt like the buildings were crashing onto us, right? Because we didn't know what was in that dust cloud. I thought it was debris.
I think I came out of these doors.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Same.
And this is where there was all the confusion because the debris was kind of flowing around the building up there and people were pushing back.
Pushing back because as students were exiting, the second building was falling.
We just started running uptown, up the highway.
There were people from further downtown covered head to foot in this off-white powder. They looked like ghosts. I think so many of us didn't share our full stories with each other because everyone else had their own story. I was not covered in dust. I was not choking. I was not dead. I didn't lose anyone that day. There's always somebody else with a more harrowing story.
I lost my uncle on September 11th. I can't even talk about him. He lived with my family for a little while. I remember he was the only person I was thinking about on that day, really. I was here in this library and seeing people falling from the towers. And I remember just feeling like he was there, like he was one of the people jumping out of the towers.
Less than a month after the attack, we returned to our school, which had been used as a command center and morgue.
I think there was a point of pride of not letting ourselves be too affected or letting ourselves show that we were too affected.
I feel like it's a pretty safe place to be, and I know that it'll bring back emotions for me to be back in the building, but I think that it's things that I can cope with.
There were a bunch of false assurances made to the Parents Association at the time about the condition the school would be in when we got back. A lot of these conditions hadn't actually been met. So we were here for about 4 months of consistent fires burning a few blocks away. The smell of smoke was suffocating every day, and despite assurances from officials, very little got done to clean the school for students.
Nordstrom now fights for services for 9/11 survivors.
I wanted to tell Congress that there was this population that was showing the same results of the exposure that responders are seeing.
I was 15 at the time.
Cathy Choi, who was in the documentary, passed away from gastric cancer after filming.
That's a cancer that's linked by the federal government to 9/11.
Cathy's the reason I'm here today. 9/11 is not something I typically talk about, but it's so important, you know.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for Lila's advocacy, and there's many others.
The 5 of us were largely not that close in high school. but we all knew each other. And like we all hugged each other when we came in.
How are you?
Like there is an affection there.
Affection I captured in this camcorder video I took of the last day of school.
Kathleen printed my thesis.
This shared experience, which could be very traumatic and tragic, it has brought us all together.
There really is a bond there.
It's transcended where we live.
Totally.
Right, we're all of different ethnicities. We all live in different parts of the country, but you know, we have that common core that we all share.
There are health services and screenings for people who were in downtown Manhattan at the time. We have information about those resources at cbsthismorning.com. Now, Lila, the healthcare advocate, she says she knows 20 people who were in our school who now have 9/11 related cancers. Yeah. Cathy Choi, who was in the documentary, who died of cancer, was just 32 years old.
The thing that always struck me was what was the psychological impact going to be, particularly on kids who were so close to that. My daughter asked me for 6 months, she was 5. Every night she went to bed for 6 months, she said, "Daddy, have they caught Osama bin Laden yet?" And I'm like, what's the long-term effect of this? And that's what I wonder about the kids in your class.
It's something we don't think about a lot, but you kind of worry about how it's affected you long-term.
The significance of the attacks, I think you appreciate each year that goes by. I was 20 in Washington, D.C. We were huddled in a gym at the College of at George Washington University. And at the time, I don't think any of us appreciated just what had happened. But every year that goes by, it sinks in more.
Yeah.
And I think about you, Adriana, that the plane was so close you could tell it was American Airlines, that you could, I didn't know that about you. So to know that you were right there and could actually see the plane coming in is so frightening to me.
It was a scary day.
You know, it was. We'll never forget. We'll be right back.